Good morning. The name of the channel on YouTube is called What is Going On with Shipping. And the guy that runs that channel, I don't know I've not seen his resume, but it's obvious to me. He's very articulate, if you will, about how he describes how an operation is taking place. He's very savvy in maritime operations. He either operated in the Navy, the Coast Guard, in some maritime capacity or in some command level. He's a pretty sharp guy. It's not a coincidence that I'm led to his channel and all of a sudden it pops up in spite of DAI, Deadlight Server, okay? So because of what I posted to that channel, because this morning he posted a video about what happened in Baltimore when a large container ship hit a piling and knocked the Francis Scott Key Bridge down. Tie that to 1812. It's all related. Okay? And how this relates to DNA, flame body activations, the original template, and organization and communication. Okay? Because as soon as I communicated into that channel, after I watched a part of what he put up this morning, which is who's in charge of the Baltimore Salvage mission. Emerald Salvage mission come to mind? And he talked about an incident command system, a hierarchy. So as soon as I posted some information and gave them examples by virtue of what I learned through experience, okay, and then I go to my Facebook page and I put that in there, what do you think happens? Oops, we got to upgrade the software on you. Okay? So the incident that happened with the other channel, which was called Crystal Dragons, is tied directly to something that Michael Dean said in an interview with Dr. Jerry Rivera. Welcome to Shitty 3D. That's a quote from him. Okay? Chaos. That's the punchline in the channel. What happens with circuits that don't fire in divine right mathematical order, divine right timing to experience zero, breathing zero. When you're breathing zero and you are fully activated, that means your state of awareness is your shield. And Michael Dean, who was with the KDS workshops, talked a lot about shields and breathing patterns, distorted sound waves, and experiencing zero, which is zero errors, which is zero distortions. That's full recalibration. That's what I did. So I used an example with Shannon Renee. Think of the matriarch, just like clan mothers, right? Just like Karen Ann Luke McDonald has the authority as a clan mother to issue the documents to strip any corporate power from having any jurisdictional authority on this planet because it's hierarchical and military in nature, which is unnatural. Unse. Because of the cosmic war that we are in. So what happens is if I become aware of something that you're not aware of, and I provide that information because Facebook is like a bulletin board. That's all it is. It's just information. How you translate that information is not up to me. That has everything to do with your awareness and the shield that you're running, which is the template that we're running. Yeah. And so how long does it take to have to break down the communications of saying one sentence? Because there is a lot of electrodynamically linked information that is tied directly to having to explain what I'm aware of that you may not be aware of. Because I have a higher state of awareness than a deadlight artificial server. So I'm familiar with how it operates. Okay? That's why I lit myself on fire, because of the timing factor as that relates to blood factors. Zero blood factor, which means the polarized consciousness sides of negative and positive magnetic polarity bloodlines are zeroed out. So there is no drama, which is perfect balance. Calm waters. That means the earth vessel, the water vessel, the pressurized water vessel is calm waters. So the central nervous system of every living cell is experiencing being in perfect balance. That's how simple it is. So this is the terrain, this is the AI battlefield environment that we're operating in. So I use the example of the salvage mission of Baltimore, the incident command system, and the historical reference that I have, because I jumped right into what? Going to work on an engine when I was 17 years of age, learning all about water pressure, gated wise, right? A vacuum gauge, sound and light moving through lines of communication. And in 1970, it happened to be one of the worst years in the history of California as a result in the loss of property damage and natural resources that they harvest as a result of what? Lack of communication. Because one DNA template couldn't communicate to another DNA template, so it is euphemistically called chickens running around with their heads cut off, because they cannot communicate with each other, because they cannot translate each other. That's called tone deaf. They can't translate the frequency or the codes of that template as a result of distortion and miasma, which is healing, which now we're back to the Emerald Salvage mission. So I used the example and posted that in his channel, who's in charge of the Baltimore salvage operation. So I gave him the Emerald Salvage mission as an example. I'm not a hierarchy. I'm at zero, right? And so I mentioned to him the way the incident command system is set up is no different than a military, right? So I told him that the incident command system under the national system started in California. It started right when I started on an engine. I went from an engine fighting forest fires, structural fires, industrial fires, medical operations, logistics, radio communications, air attack, search and rescue, right? And then I went into crash and shipboard firefighting. Then I went into nuclear, biological, and radiological weapons, hazardous materials, fighting oil field fires, right? And so what happens is that's called a multidisciplinary science, right? Wow, you learned how to do all these different things in order to do what? Triage, the salvage mission. So under their incident command system, they set up teams. So those teams are based on training, what we've learned. So you have different teams that are all set up and organized numerically, like a team 1, which is known as a team 1, and a team 2, and a team 3. So if you have a fire in California that breaks out burning 3,000 acres an hour, that might be designated as team 2 or a team 1. It depends on who's on the board, which is a database. So they're going to pull up a database. Oh, now we're talking about electrical dynamically linked records. Yes. Of the units of consciousness that are going to respond to that triage based on their background or their resources, by what they've experienced, what their qualifications are. And they're going to send those teams out there, because what they found out in 1970 is one agency couldn't communicate to another agency because one is running on one frequencies, radio frequencies, and another outfit are running different frequencies, so they can't communicate with each other. So when an incident command, it's like, hey, we're going to have a communication system so we can organize the communication so we're not experiencing chaos. That's divine right mathematical order, divine right timing, and divine right balance, because 0 is the exact center point of balance in a magnet. That's how simple it is, right? So I don't argue with people. I'm not going to get engaged in that game about what you know, what you don't know, who you are, what you're not, because I've said this many times. You want to get to know somebody? This is how we do it. Sit down face to face. If you're just with another person, I shared this with a lady. Okay, particularly if you're on a beach, okay, where your feet are in the crystal sand, just like cloud busters. So now your feet are in the sand, in a lotus position, breathing, and get your breathing tempo down. So in other words, the girl that's right across from me is going to get her breathing tempo down, get the breathing tempo down, get the breathing tempo down. So we're experiencing the still point. She's experiencing the still point in her heart, the precise center point of balance in her heart and soul, right? So she's experiencing being emotionally calm, the creative power of a spirit. That spirit is free, that is in that fire, because that light is pure. That's a pure heart in that girl. And so she's getting her tempo down. I'm getting my tempo down. My heart is at the precise center point of balance, and now we hold hands. Where the fingers go in between the left and the right. We close our eyes. We're going to communicate heart to heart, soul to soul, eyes to eyes, spirit to spirit, and we're going to experience being one with the first one. Wow, that's 3. That's a boy and a girl that have joined to become one. Now they're experiencing being one. Yeah, that's how we do it. And guess what happens? What do you think comes out of us? Pure light. The first atom seed. The birth of a star. Generating gazillion neurons. Neuron awareness. Generating a gazillion neurons. So it has everything to do with awareness. Michael Dean, if you want to go look at that or watch that video, that was a great podcast. When Michael Dean, he got honest. That's what an open library is, right? Which means I live in absolutely no fear to express what it is that I am by virtue of what I've learned, because my level of awareness, I'm running the full shield, which is full activation, which is fully integrated, right? As a monopole, right? So you may not be aware of what I'm aware of. So now you're aware of what I'm aware of. So how long is it going to take to explain it to you? So you can listen and maybe learn by what I learned, which is neutral ground, which is equal. And this is when we get into learning speed, because I knew this as a child. If you're learning at a higher rate of speed as somebody else is in order to maintain your shield, they hate you. Because they realize they haven't cleared all the junk, all the goo codes yet. And you have. You're running more fire than I am. I tried to use the analogy like being fearless to being burned at a stake, born of fire. Fire is what purifies us, because fire is what burns off what doesn't serve us. Now I'm back to my childhood. Anything that is less than what I am is going to get burned off, or transmuted, as we say, back to 0, so that I am naturally running what I normally experience, being what I know that I am, which is what love is. It goes on forever, gifting electrons, because I'm always in service. Love and service has everything to do with sensing capacity, and sensing capacity has everything to do with your level of awareness. How aware are you? So I use the example of the matriarch of an elephant. The matriarch, the lead matriarch of the elephant herd. She's the oldest. She's been around a long time, right? That soul, that oversoul has been around for a long time. So all those children that came out of that matriarch, her antenna is fully activated. And when she's fully activated, anything that came out of that race line, that seeded race line, she's going to be very aware of what's going on as a shield to protect all her children. Because she's going to get the signal first if anything is going wrong. her antenna is going to pick it up, and she's going to know, and she's going to know first, because her level of awareness is higher than all of her children. To protect all of her children. That's how a shield works. Just like the matriarch in an elephant herd. That's why in wolf packs, you know who the toughest warrior is in a wolf pack? The wolf that rides in the back. Just like on a forest firefighting crew, the end of the line, right? There isn't anything coming up behind us to attack us, stab us in the back, right? So that fierce warrior of the wolf is protecting the elderly and the children of that race line. That's what love is. Eternal love is the highest state of awareness. That's why my awareness is as high as it is, because I'm aware of it. And when I'm aware of it, I share it. Now I have to decide what I'm aware of, whether I'm going to communicate it or not, because I might end up getting what? Resistance. We know what resistance is. The resistance to be aware of that. No resistance means that all of the chakras, like planetary chakras, galactic chakras, universal chakras, are cleared so that all the circuits are running wide open. And when all the circuits are running wide open, that's called an open library, which is an open antenna, which means you're a listening post. You're a universe, galactic, and planetary listening post. A universal state of awareness. Unicycle. The Nomi Noble Planet Code state of awareness. Wow. The original shield. Yes. That's what it is. I'm running the original shield. That's why I'm on the Big Island. This is the largest shield volcano, right? That's not a coincidence, because we know there's not coincidences when you run in divine right mathematical order, because I implicitly trust the one I'm with, which is what I am, which is what love is. So I'm always with the first spirit, which is the first shield, which is the eternal spirit of fire. Fire and ice. Joined as one. The silver and gold mated one. The Emerald Founders. The Guardians. The Guardian Shield. That's right, protecting the salvage operations. That's the punchline. Have a beautiful day. We love you all. Be good to ourselves.